All in it. Yep. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Be the Media Huntington. Tonight is Wednesday, January 30th. My name is Jenny Lee, and tonight I have with me Miss Dana.
Hi, guys.
And Miss Lisa.
Hi, everyone.
And we apologize for the technical difficulties last week. We were unable to, or I was unable, I lost control of my Google Chrome, and I was unable to stop the show, so it made for some fun at the last of that episode. But bonus points, because the girls and I were able to come back, and we went ahead and did a private, uncensored 36 minutes of part 2, and we're going to be putting that out for you as a special, because we looked back and we're like, wow, this was actually better than last week's episode, because we were so uncensored and we were misbehaving a little. So we did all review it, and we decided that the content was good enough to put forth for you. If you could just kind of deal with us being a little more frisky than we normally are. But that was a lot of fun. So this week in Huntington news, we started out with the ZBA meeting for Classic Galleries. And I got to tell you, I've been to a lot of town board meetings. I've watched a lot of controversial developments, and I've never seen this many people show up to a ZBA meeting. Town board meeting, yes. ZBA, right. No. There was, when we went there, we noticed that there was just no way to even go in. So we watched remotely while we had a nice dinner and celebrated Lisa's birthday. So that was very nice. But I've heard there was about possibly 1,000 people that showed up, and that fire code had been reached, and there was an overflow of over 300 into the halls.
Oh, wow.
So I would say that they don't want this project.
Well, that's clear.
Yeah. Pretty clear. Just like the Villadom. I think probably just about the same. They showed up.
Well, they had to move that. So what happened at the ZBA meeting is that they voted to adjourn so that they could look for a larger venue to be able to hold everyone, because by law, they are required to hear everyone on the record. I think that by doing that, they've actually garnered more steam for the project.
Yeah.
Again, meaning in opposition.
Yeah. More people have an opportunity to get it together.
Well, they were mad. I mean, there was a palatable anger that even though we weren't in the room because we couldn't get in, you could feel it when we were watching it on our phones. You could feel the anger and frustration, and people wanted to be heard, right? I picked you up and I said, these people they get dressed up.
Yep.
They have to rearrange for their families, write their speeches, put it in their schedule to be told, sorry, we're going to have to do this again another day.
Yeah. And I'm glad the media was there to capture that too.
Yes.
Yeah. That was good.
Yes.
That was good.
So we also had Classic Galleries. So really quick, I want to touch on the town board meeting, and then we'll get the update on the gang information that we have. Okay, because I could run through this one really quickly, because I know we want to spend a little bit more time on the SROs and all that other stuff. So I thought this was crazy. Pat Del Cole retired. And for people who don't know who Pat Del Cole is, the way that I was just explaining it to Dana and Lisa, I think you guys like that description? It was a good one? Okay, so Pat Del Cole is basically, if the president of the United States dies, she's the vice president. Okay, so when Frank Petrone, the Republican, who used to be the Republican, and then he was a Democrat, okay, who was here for 30 years, and we finally dethroned this man and got rid of him, she was his assistant supervisor. So if he was to die, she would have been the supervisor in the town of Huntington here for 25 years. When the pendulum swung the other way, we have a Republican now, Chad Lupinacci, who's the supervisor of the town of Huntington. They kept her on as the deputy assistant supervisor. So if Chad Lupinacci was to die, she would have become the supervisor for the town of Huntington on default. So it's interesting to see. It's basically like, you had Trump or you had Obama, and no matter who died, Mike Pence was going to become the president. That's the best way I could describe it, because you had a Democrat and you had a Republican, and she served under both in the same capacity. So that was very interesting.
Okay.
The what?
Sounds weird, but okay.
That was super weird. You know what I learned about her that I had no idea, which explains a lot. She has a master's in zoology. Yeah, which explains why she works at the zoo of Town Hall and control all these animals. Yeah, she's a zookeeper, or was, but she retired. Okay, so other things of interest. 5G was
Carry a big shovel.
What?
Cleaning up for all of them.
Which one? Oh, yes, you're right. You know what? She also has, I think, a degree in biology. So I think you're right. She may also be picking up all the crap for all the animals.
Hella crazy. Crazy.
Okay, other things of very much interest.
You've seen the guy after the elephants come out. You see the big pooper scooper. Guy walks around with a big shovel and picks up all the crap after everybody.
Rhinos poop the worst, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, monkeys throw it. But the rhinos, they just they go on for days. Okay, so 5G. 5G. If you haven't seen Zapped, get out there and see Zapped. What I found is interesting, and I think this is going to help a lot of people, because they really did explain it to at the meeting this time. People are going to Town Hall because they don't want 5G, not understanding it's a federal law. So under the federal law, our town is restricted from viewing any health effects data that goes with the law, because they have to implement this whether they agree with it or don't agree with it, because it's a federal law. So they have sent a letter to Schumer, Schwazi, and Gillibrand, asking them to represent them in a federal capacity for trying to eliminate the restrictions on the 5G laws that they're required to follow. I told you that was interesting, because we keep going down there and saying, you have to fix this. It's so dangerous. It does this in male babies and this in women, and we've covered so much already. Okay.
Well, if I could just touch on that quickly.
Yeah, please.
I've got Verizon now since November, and a few weeks ago, I had posted on social media and on a couple of town pages, which was obviously a mistake because I just got attacked, ridiculously attacked. And I said that all of a sudden, that one day, none of my passwords worked for my Wi-Fi in the house or on any of my devices. My password did not work. So I was really stumped. I had no idea what was going on. So a bunch of people came back at me saying, well, clearly you don't know your password. Clearly you're doing it wrong. Well, clearly I was doing the right thing. I called Verizon. The tech guy came over fairly quickly, super, super nice. And I said, well, what's going on? He said, well, it's not just your router that's kind of crapping out already. He goes, they've implemented the 5G and now your regular Wi-Fi is shut off. It's done. It's not working on this particular router. They're forcing me to sign on to the 5G that I didn't want to do. So he gave me a brand new router. He reset everything of mine and said, listen, I'm going to make it so that you can have a choice and you can log on to your regular Wi-Fi. I think it's the 2.5. And you can log on to that one or the 5G. So he gave me back my choice. So I'm just on my regular 2.5. And he said that for quite a while, it's been implemented, the 5G. And Verizon literally took that away from me, that right away from me, and took my choice away. So I knew I wasn't going crazy, and I knew I was putting my right password in. I just couldn't believe it. It was strange. Well, anyway.
Yeah. It was because you didn't know your password. You don't know how to reset it either.
I know. It's because I'm a total idiot.
Right, you're a total idiot. You should do more research, Lisa. That's my favorite line on the internet. You should do more research.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a bigger Google than you do.
Yeah. But you know, Altice, I have Altice One because I left Verizon. It's just too expensive. And Altice One, I got it, I want to say maybe around November. And I think I covered this when we first started hearing about 5G. They always gave us a choice because we have two passwords. We have two ways to connect. One is with the 5G, one is without. So I'm assuming they've been working on this for some time.
Is that what all the rewiring is all about all over town?
I think so, because I've seen quite a few of those trucks.
They're everywhere. There's big wooden spools everywhere, and then they change. Like they'll have 3 on. Are they just redoing all the? Is that the 5G?
I don't know, but there's 100. I don't know. I mean, I might be wrong, but when I say 170, I think I'm pretty damn close. 170 cell towers for the 5G up already that have been up there for quite some time, just waiting for this.
You know what's crazy? Anytime, because it's funny, if I show you like my screen time like June did, I'm never going to beat her. I've been trying. She has 55 hours a week on Facebook, and I can't achieve that level. But I can show you on here how much I do listening. YouTube, I'm listening to stuff all the time. And anytime I drive underneath ShotSpotter on Railroad, I lose service and Wi-Fi anytime I'm within that triangulation pattern.
That's interesting.
ShotSpotter. In fact, we're going to go back to ShotSpotter because we got to talk about the shooting on Peachtree, but I want to bring that back with the gang stuff, so we got to hold tight on that. But yeah, ShotSpotter is the triangulation pattern that picks up pew, 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 any gunshots within the area and sends it to some unknown location to not be monitored, or who knows? I don't even know how that works anymore. I know there was a monitoring station and then it was shut down, so I don't know. All right, so at the town board meeting, Jeanette, our friend Jeanette, she has a different name than she does on the internet, so I'm just going to use Jeanette. She brings up the timer that the town attorney timers everything, and he just goes ding and then ding and ding. And she was saying, and it was a good idea, that they should have like a little digital timer to let the speaker know how much time they have left, instead of just getting ding, 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 gong showed out after they're done, in which some people do go over and some people don't.
I think it's a good idea for someone to visually see that.
But what I would love that she brought up, she wanted to know how the committees are formed. How does one committee have so many realtors on it and not a lot of average citizens? She wanted to know how these people are chosen, how they're picked.
Well, we all know most recently Chad Lupinacci's best friend is a realtor who has his best friends and his best friends and his best friends who are
and he blocked, I want to go on the record that he blocked all of us after we brought that up on our show, because how dare we speak about the people, the public employees, and who's getting cushy appointments that looks like complete nepotism to everybody else. How dare we do that? So instead of, he blocked us all. I thought that was really childish.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't.
I never even had a confrontation with the man, and he blocked me just from association, which was really.
My poor husband, I get blocked. They go to him. They block him just for good measure, because she can't see anything I do. I'm not interested in what you do. I'm doing too much myself to care about what anybody else is doing. Except for some people. I mean, like, Huntington Matters. I got plenty of time for you because you're a fraud and you need to be exposed. All right. So one more thing that was brought up at the town board meeting that is going to link right into the gangs of New York that we keep going back to. A couple by the name of Amoruso, who live in Dix Hills, were bringing up the rental law. And it's interesting because we're going to get into the scope of things, and I want people to understand that when we're talking about the gang issue and we're talking about where people are, because we've said there's a lot of people here, but there's no housing to accommodate this, which means people are being shoved into illegal rentals. So when we talk about, are there things that we could do locally instead of suffering with a state law or a federal law that's getting in our way? There are things that we can do, and there are a couple of laws that can help us. And this rental law is going to be on for a public hearing on February 13th. They're changing the rental laws. A lot of it has to do with Airbnb. I think one of the most poignant points that Mrs. Amoroso made on the record, she said, I'm living next to $45 a night, and I could easily get 180 transients within the course of 6 months. And she's right.
Yeah.
She's right. You don't know if they're pedophiles. You don't know. And these are in areas that are zoned for single family homes.
Right. Yeah, I listened to her. It was nerve-wracking what she was saying. Walking her dog and to know what back to in her neighborhood when she goes out just for a walk with her dog. She never knows what's going to be on that corner. She shouldn't have to live like that. Nobody should.
It's crazy. So if you couple that with the other law that they passed, I forget exactly when. I can go back and get it for you if somebody wants it. I can get it, or you can research it on your own with your Google doctorate. But there was a law that was put onto the books within our town that you can have more than 5 last names registered at a address. So when you do this, you're actually encouraging a boarding house type atmosphere. So a couple of laws coupled together are things that could be put together to help curb the large amount of citizens that we just don't know enough about that are creating the gang problem that we're having in the schools. And here we are with exactly what we wanted to talk about. Let's get the update on the gang issue, ladies. I'm putting away my show notes.
Oh, where should we begin? I just am so...
The arraignment. How about the arraignment?
How about this? How many times in your lifetime have you ever heard, read, witnessed, researched a district attorney making a statement based off of an altercation and the wounds were superficial? How many times? I mean, maybe I am in another world, but how many times has that ever happened?
None that I can recall.
Right.
Yeah.
And if the wound was superficial, how did the young man get stabbed in the back? I think they're being charged with assault in the 4th degree. I forget the exact term they were given, but how was that possible?
So the gang members, the 3 boys that were arrested during the altercation at Burger King, were arraigned, and they pled not guilty. They have not been bailed out yet, but the attorneys for them had some interesting things to say. And what they said was that their clients, the 3 known and identified gang members, were actually the victims and were attacked by other unknown and unidentified gang members that were, as you've said many times, Dana, suspended out of school for an incident that did not happen on school grounds, because the school has been very much clarifying that there are no gang incidences at the school. So, and this did not happen on school grounds. So why were they suspended? But also, are they known and identified gang members? And have we gotten a tally on this number yet?
My question is this. My worry is this. These individuals that were picked up and they were recently brought up on charges and they are going to trial. So obviously there's some evidence there, because otherwise the attorney would have made them take a plea. Because it's only 3% of cases that's brought up that actually go to trial. Most people take pleas. My issue is, did the school know that these kids were known gang officials affiliated? And if they did, how many others are in the school that they know of?
Well, I think Xavier could give that answer.
Well, clearly we have security guards that are writing up information enough to bring in a school resource officer, Officer Drew, who felt there was enough information that he handed it over. We got a new school resource officer today. His name is Officer Tom Wolf, And I don't know much about him yet, but I look forward to finding out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess so. I'm not dealing with Lisa tonight. I am not dealing with Lisa tonight. I mean, this whole thing to me is just crazy.
It was so funny. I asked somebody, I said, is he Hispanic? Is he Hispanic? Because a lot of the kids have been complaining that one of the reasons that they did not want Officer Drew was because they felt that they were being racially targeted. So a good way to disarm that whole argument would have been to get a Hispanic or even a black SRO officer at the school. And I was told he is not, but he is married to a Spanish man. So I guess that was the excuse I was given, which is kind of sad because that's still pulling out, it's like me well, I have a Spanish son. Let me play that card. So I don't know. I think it's still going to be, it's going to be hard for the kids to garner that trust, especially with a new person. They don't trust police to begin with, but I wish him the best. We have a great school district. We welcome him with open arms, but there's so many unanswered questions. And I don't see, didn't Dr. Spencer said to us when we walked into the PTA meeting, when he has the facts, he would present the public. I still haven't seen a Facebook Live saying, yeah, I'm working on fixing this law. I'm working on doing this and helping you guys with your gang activity. He should have all the facts by now, even though they were changing a lot because of June back then and Huntington Matters and all their spreading of false information. She went to interview Geraldine Hart, the police commissioner for Suffolk County. And I don't know, she didn't put the answers up. So is it because it was everything we said it was? Because we had already read the publications that said that Geraldine Hart said that there was more evidence than a doodle. There was more evidence than just a drawing and blue shoes, that they had a lot more things. And she stated that in publications. And if you spent more time reading and researching and listening to YouTube live feeds like I do, instead of FaceTiming for 55 hours a week, you might have known this too.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. Let me put my bat away and get back on track. Okay.
I just, my whole thing with this is that I haven't heard one civic group, one public official. I haven't heard any of these so-called community leaders. No one say anything about the children that were suspended. I haven't heard them say anything about what actions are being taken so that this doesn't happen again. I haven't heard anything. Yet what I did hear is that, we got to see the tape of the actual video that the authorities were seeing. That's how it led to the kids being suspended.
Right.
How the hell do you get to see a tape on an active investigation? Somebody please let me know that. How? Because now, you bring in all kinds of, things into play. If those were my children and all of this was going on, or my child was included, I would have the biggest lawsuit against the school district. It would not be funny. The children are suspended. You're violating their civil rights because you suspended them illegally, and they're not getting an education. Okay. And when they do return to school, unlike their Latino counterparts, they don't have a support system. They don't have a community liaison. And they're the ones that were attacked.
And they don't have an Xavier Palacios who wants to expunge their records.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that unless they're Spanish and here illegally, then he wants to do that because he's an immigration lawyer and it helps him greatly.
Well, I hope I'm waiting to see if that happens, because if that happens, then as one of the organizations that I am affiliated with, we will then have the right to go and argue that and perhaps go, take it up with the school board. How on earth do you think it is possible, or you think that it's correct for someone's record to be expunged because they had an altercation or incident or involvement with an SRO officer just because they're Latino? What about the Black kids? What about the Asian kids? What about the kids with disabilities? All those type of kids are considered minorities, FYI. So why on earth we just leave it just to the Latino ones? I am so sick of him, and I don't even really deal with him, but I'm just so sick of hearing how great he is. Now you could talk crap, Huntington Matters, because now I've said it, but I've never bit my tongue before. No. I don't have a problem with anyone with Huntington Matters, with the exception of Xavier, because I don't believe in, doing things for show. You don't you don't use your ethnic background when it's convenient, because I guarantee you
that's what he did too.
I guarantee you the people that you are claiming to represent don't drive $100,000 car. I'm almost positive. Okay, so how can you possibly identify with them?
And they don't take numerous lavish vacations.
Yeah, I mean, give me a break. And now keep this in mind. This is Xavier Palacio is the same one when Tracy Edwards was running his mouth because of the car not that Tracy drove, that her husband drove. You in the same position.
So during my tenure with Huntington Matters, there was an incident, and a lot of people may remember this, in Huntington Station with an illegal worker.
Oh.
Yes, he fell down the stairway working on the homeowner's house.
I remember this very well.
So Xavier got in his very expensive vehicle and drove, and I want you to know this information came directly from someone who witnessed it directly to me and was never denied, and drove up to this man's father's house, okay, because he was a young man, and came out of his car speaking Spanish to the guy. My organization will help represent you for free and blah, 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 blah. The guy told him, he said, you come up to my house and speak Spanish to me like it's the only language that I know.
Exactly.
You're nothing better than an ambulance chaser. Get off my lawn.
He was.
Kicked him off the lawn. And this is when I learned who he really was, because I was still at the tail end. This was before they found Maggie's murderer. And we were all sort of in communication, and there was many of us communicating with each other. And I also remember being in a meeting with him when he had said, some people just need to be ruled. And he believes that. He's Ecuadorian. He believes that some people need to be ruled over. So now understand, I know he's an elected official. I am allowed under my First Amendment right as a private citizen to say my opinion of these things about him. He has also put himself in a very public position because of Huntington Matters claiming to represent so many people. I know they want to change their story now that they got caught with their hands in the cookie jar, but the fact remains they have been in a position for years of claiming to represent our entire community without our knowledge.
Yep. And that's the only thing I have a problem with. That's not acceptable.
Oh, I have a few things. I mean, like you want to create policy that only applies to a very small protected percentage of our school district. It's not equal to all students.
And that's a problem.
That is a huge problem.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Especially since it benefits his field of practice.
That is a problem.
Do we have so many illegals coming to our school district because the word on the streets is there's somebody here who will help you? Why do we have 48% and nobody else does? And it's only happened since he got elected. 2014, we were at 38% when he was elected. I've already we showed the numbers 2 weeks ago. Is that what's happening?
Is that okay? It's not okay with me.
According to the New York State Board of Ethics, not even the appearance of impropriety. Not even the appearance. We have enough problems. He opened his mouth and got us in the New York Times.
I don't see anybody on the Huntington Matters executive board asking for his resignation, asking him to step down. How is it okay?
He doesn't. he doesn't, June does all the talking.
Well, I mean, my
Oh,
concern is
one
not
month he's the
even.
president. Next month she's the president. Next time he's the president. Next time she's the president. What the hell is that crap?
It's
Well,
a
my concern is not a little Facebook group, okay?
Well,
Huntington
yeah.
Matters is nothing but a
No,
Facebook
it's the
group.
influence that put them in the newspaper to begin with.
Even still, they're not that significant in my eyes. My issue is, okay, and I'm very clear about it, they're not significant at all because they're very biased, in my opinion.
You're part of much larger organizations by far, and you never toot your own horn. And I appreciate that. You never go out and say, I'm part of this, and they're very well-known organizations.
And I keep it that way, and that's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
My issue is that this man is on the Board of Education. This man will influence policies and procedures that a child, my nephew, my niece, my grandchildren, whomever may have to follow. You are showing a clear bias, and your Board of Education is doing nothing whatsoever. That's where I have a problem with, because if I was a parent in that district, it would be a problem every single time we had a school board meeting. Every single time anytime I can get to talk to the superintendent, I would, because I would think the treatment would be unfair. How can you represent this group and you're going to say it's pro bono or whatever the case may be, and you're basically giving them sanctions to say, okay, come here because I'll protect you? What about the other kids? Because when you took that oath, when you were elected and you took that oath, you were sworn in to protect all of the children's best interests, not just one group. That's my problem. I can give two craps about that Facebook thing. That's just Facebook. To me, that's nothing significant. But it's
important to add it in as a faction, because that's how it made it into the New York Times. But you're right.
Yeah.
Position of his actual voting authority is important. That's what's important. And recognizing it with what he does for a living. He only came forth and said, yeah, I did it pro bono. You have no idea how many students he actually has represented. We have no idea. And as a private, I don't believe he's entitled to tell us, but I'll tell you for sure, he didn't fill it out on any conflict of interest forms. I find it very hard to believe that he has no conflict of interest in this town. Everybody does. So why? I foiled everything back to 2014. There was nothing.
So, I mean, that's where I would have a problem with. And then I'll be looking at the fellow board members. Why aren't you saying anything?
Right.
Are you okay with this? What are you doing? Because now I'm looking at everyone like suspects, because he's out here ranting and raving. And well, actually, he's not. His counterpart.
He's hiding behind June's skirts.
Yeah, whatever she's doing. What else is he doing? I would have questions, and I would hold that board accountable. I'm sorry.
Well, our next school board meeting is February 4th. I figure, and you've seen it. It's not that we operate under anonymity. Most people know who we are by now if you're on our Huntington View page. But Dina and Lisa, you've seen the inboxes since the incident. Yep. People, people, they don't know who they're talking to, but they're just basically yelling at us to do something in our inbox on the Huntington View. And a lot of it has to do with Xavier.
And let me just say this so we're all clear, okay? Because we may have opinions about this particular issue, MS-13, gang violence, transgender, undocumented individuals, does not make us racist, does not make us bigots, does not make us feel like we don't care. We're not insensitive. These are topics that are brought up more than we would like to hear, and we address them. You cannot fault us for our opinion. You can't say that we're just focused on undocumented individuals and we're focusing on Latinos. That's the focus.
This is the exact. I just had this conversation with another woman today who's Black. And she's married to a Spanish man, okay? She's right in the middle of all this. And she goes, you have no idea how many times I've been called a racist this week for questioning bad laws. And I'm like, bingo. How
It's annoying.
are you are Black, you're married to a Hispanic, so your children are half as each, and you're being called a racist for questioning a law or a policy because you want your laws enforced. This is all that does is shut down civil conversation and debate on bad laws.
I would agree. I would definitely agree. And it's so annoying. Stop being overly sensitive. If somebody referred to the other children that were stabbed as the Blacks, that they were Black. What would you like them to say?
Well,
They were Black.
You brought up a great point when we were at my kitchen conversations. I'm not taking anything out of it, but the thing that happened with the transgender thing that everyone, oh, Jenny's a bigot now. I'm a bigot now because I was questioning a law that's flawed. Okay. And I want you to know, by the way, my daughter did meet with the principal and he had said, yeah, that person clearly was abusing the transgender law and was creeping on your daughter and was watching her get undressed. And if he had the information, then he could have done something about it. So it was verified. He followed up. He sent me all the policies on everything, which I started reviewing tonight, but I didn't have time. That's why I'm not bringing it up. But it doesn't make me a bigot. But your point was not once in that conversation where people were protecting people. I wasn't attacking any one person. I was attacking a law. Nobody once treated my daughter like the victim that she was. Not that I want her to be a victim. I never want her to feel like that way. And she didn't treat it in that way. She actually handled it very appropriately. She was very responsible with how she handled it, actually. But nobody, not once in that conversation was anybody like, wow, I'm really sorry that this happened to your daughter.
Right.
Right. Maybe we should examine the law so that this doesn't happen to anybody else's child, including transgendered children. They were so busy and quick to just call me names and run off rail with the conversation, which is just a distraction to keep you busy from talking about the actual policy and getting something done.
That's the same issue. I just had an issue, not an issue. I had a heated debate because I was involved in a discussion and they were talking about Cuomo passing a law where undocumented individuals will be getting free education as far as college goes. And yes, I am annoyed. I'm annoyed because I'm a parent that currently has 2 children in college. One is pre-med. One is a dual major. My dual major has dyslexia. She does not get any scholarship. She doesn't get anything. She gets the bare minimum of financial aid. Her school, because she needed a smaller, stable environment, is $42,000 a month. And she goes to school, $42,000 a year. She goes to school in New York. I would like to get free education. I think I should get free education because I pay into the system. How come I'm not getting it, but you're going to tell me that you're going to give someone else who's undocumented, who hasn't paid into anything, free education? Or even myself, I'm currently doing my master's program. I don't get anything at all.
No, you get unlimited abortions.
Yeah, and I don't need that. Because obviously I have all my children, so that's another story. Lord, please, another topic. But I would like to get my master's for free. I don't want to have to spend $8,000, $9,000. I don't want to do that.
Healthcare.
Why exactly? I pay into my healthcare
more than your mortgage in New York for your size family to cover everybody. I know it.
So, I mean, I'm not a racist. I'm not anything. I'm saying that this is a system that I paid into. My mother has paid into. My father has paid into. My aunts, uncles, grandparents, all professionals, they paid into. How come I'm not receiving the same benefits as somebody who has not had any of those things and haven't paid into anything?
You have a bank account and you take your money and you deposit it in. And now Lisa's going to contribute to my bank account, right? And we're going to put it in. And now Dana, you're going to contribute to my bank account. Now all of a sudden somebody none of us friggin' even knew comes in and takes all our money and just throws it to everybody else. That's what's happening.
And that is that to me is and that to me is not a race issue. It's unfortunate that he used it.
Issue.
Yeah, it's my
You're a
freedom.
bigot. If you're not okay with that, you're a bigot. You're a bad person.
I'm so sick of it. I'm gloves off at this point. If people want to call me names, so be it. I don't care anymore. I'm not going to entertain it as a topic of a conversation. I'm going to view you as an ignorant human being who cannot handle a debate on an actual topic. I am done. I am not, and I'm done proving a false negative to people. Just because you call me a name doesn't mean I have to prove I'm not. Screw you. I'm done.
That's how I'm feeling, and it gets so. I'm somebody I love to debate. A prime example, kitchen conversation we have. We don't all have the same views, but we had a very productive conversation, and it was a very well diverse women's conversation.
It was all women. My
all
poor
women.
He was like, "Uh-oh, it's only women this time. I'm gonna go hang out."
I'm out of here. They're not getting me.
And he eavesdropped the whole time. He said it was great though.
It was good. We had a lot of ideas,
and not everybody was from the same political belief.
Nope. Nobody, not even from the same religions, not the same ages, not the same outlooks, but what was done respectably. We had many conversations. Many. So, I mean, if you can't do that, that's not my fault.
Well, it ended at 6, and the last person it was from 3 to 6, and the last person that left at 9. So. I mean, if it sucked, that wouldn't be like that. So we did have a lot of people cancel on us too, but it always happens to end up the way exactly. It's always a good dynamic, no matter how many people show or don't show. And I frankly don't like it when there's too many. I've had it once when there was so many, and there's too many conversations to try to have a quality one. Yeah. I like them when they're smaller. I think I'm going to keep them smaller from now on.
And we can really have a good conversation. But it's like, you get tired of these things. And it's like, let's stop using, the shade card and just address what the issue is. The issue is, as a citizen, I should be receiving benefits before someone who is not a citizen. That's it.
We should not have the 8 homeless dead in the streets of New York City because of the cold, who are typically veterans, people with mental health issues. You don't see many illegal immigrants, undocumented people being reported as being frozen on the streets of New York. It's typically a veteran, and which is sad to me.
It's very sad.
We don't take care of our own. What do we do?
We don't. America first. I don't understand what's so bigoted and racist about that concept. America first. Americans.
They started out by saying, when you take the word nationalist, it's not a negative meaning. When you add white nationalist in front of it, you're starting to marry it now with white supremacist, which immediately invokes Nazis. And so it's like a brainwash training for people. So when you say, yes, I'm a nationalist and I'm proud of it, people say, oh, you want a white America, you're a Nazi, boom, boom. So and that's where the conversation just degrades. First of all, nobody should be comparing people today that they view as Nazis to Nazis. It's just completely inappropriate. That was a different time in history, and it should be treated like that. Right now, what we have in the United States of America is a culture war. We have a culture war of globalists versus nationalists. And it's a view of how people view how our world should be. And it's two completely different visions that are altered by alternative facts versus mainstream media facts. And that's where we're at in America. Sad.
It's sad, but it's true. And unfortunately, I've always been proud to be American. I've never hid that.
You're a nationalist.
America has flaws. Yes, they killed off a lot of Native Americans. Yes, they had slavery.
But
yes,
they did. I didn't.
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying as a history. Forget. I'm not personalizing.
That was least relatives.
I'm saying
that was not my great great uncle.
I'm just saying as a whole. as a whole, these are the things that we had. You know, we did experiments on people for science. We did a lot of things, but those things are what made this country great. So instead of, you know, we can't change it. We could talk about it. We can, you know, embrace it and talk about how we feel. But at the end of the day, you can't go to another country other than America and go there and expect them to change for you. America's the only country that adjusts to everyone that's coming here. Well, I can't go to Spain and do that. They'd be like, you don't speak Spanish, and you're on your own.
You cannot. And you know what? I think a lot of it comes to how you choose to see your lens. You can say, well, the white people who framed the Constitution owned slaves. Or you could say, we were the greatest nation on earth that ended slavery with the 13th Amendment. It's all about how you view through your lens. Oh, well, women weren't given the right to vote until, or we live in the greatest country in the world that gave women the right to vote ahead of anybody else. There's still slaves in the world.
America, like it or not, is the only country that you can have something that is not given that you could fight for and then achieve it. Okay? Women didn't have rights, fought for it, we got it. African Americans couldn't vote and they were enslaved, fought for it, we got it. America is the only place that you can do that. And my thing is, as an American who's proud, who does everything, you know, respects our vets, gives to, you know, our vets everything, I think I should be considered first when it comes to certain things other than somebody who's undocumented. I'm not saying they don't deserve it. I'm not saying that it's fair. What I am saying is that these funds were put in place by my sweat and tears and my ancestors. Why aren't I allowed to benefit, or my children?
For the same reason you'll never see Social Security, because government has never been the answer. Government screws up everything they touch. I don't want them in charge of healthcare. I do not want Medicaid for all. This abortion thing has blown my mind. It has absolutely changed who I believed I was. It's almost like there's forces that are working against us to force us to choose a side because it's becoming so radical.
That's what I said. You're picking a side. And I don't care. I mean, some extent in regards to that abortion
craziness
law. I'm not speaking about women who were raped for health reasons, whatever the case may be, because I'm not your God. I don't know what your terms are, and you have to make that decision. What I am saying is that I had a full child that was delivered fully intact, lungs, breathe, everything was perfect at 8 months. He was born a whole month early. If I would have terminated that pregnancy, I would have been killing a human being.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I had a lot of complications. I had a lot. I was hospitalized and everything. That never even crossed my mind.
Was it the congressman from Virginia today they're lobbying for the one where that there's 3 states now, but there's one who basically the woman who said that you can have the abortion up to the point that the woman is dilating and actually in labor. And the other guy, I think he's the guy in Virginia who was on the radio show today. I may have it wrong. If I do, I apologize if somebody's screaming at me right now what state it is, but it's the point that matters, that after the woman delivers the child, at the point that the first breath has already been taken, which is what's in the Bible to me, that if there's deformities that are present after the child has already been delivered, that they can make a decision at that point. So now we're not even talking partial birth. We're talking full on, it's a boy. I don't want a boy. It's too bad for my mental health. And how do we know it's a boy, right? Technically, he's got to decide on his own.
Oh, right.
Because in New York, we have genderless birth certificates now.
Oh yes! Oh my God!
And if you can terminate a pregnancy up until dilation, I'm just gonna do.
No, we're talking about the baby's already out.
So, but you can
but now you found out your baby has a deformity.
No, I'm talking about the first one. You said like as long as you're dilating and you could.
That was the first one.
You can have a termination.
Yes, while you're in labor.
How do you know if you kill the child before it's born? How do you know it couldn't take its first breath? Because the truth of the matter is,
it doesn't matter. You're entitled to abortion on demand with no apology now.
No, because some children are born who swallow. They're called McCormick babies because they take their first breath inside the womb and they swallow their bowel movement. Yes. So they're alive.
Yes,
they are alive. That kind of thing, you're playing God, in my opinion.
But when I don't want a baby girl.
No.
It's not okay for my mental health.
Then don't have sex.
Now change, that's part of the laws that they're introducing. It's not the mothers, it's no longer rare. The statistics we showed last week prove it's no longer rare, right? New York City, for every 1,000 births, 544 abortions are performed. This is not rare. It's being used as a form of birth control when birth control is readily available. There's absolutely no excuse for these kinds of numbers. And then on top of it, we're funding Planned Parenthood with tax dollars. And they're pretty much, when you look at how many abortions they perform a year, versus how many births they handle, they are an abortion factory. And a couple years ago, I think I remember seeing something about some parts being sold in the black market. So, there's that. Now you can have full-term babies that you can use.
And you want me to follow somebody, you want me to follow Planned Parenthood? The woman who established Planned Parenthood wanted to eradicate the mentally ill, blacks, and anybody that didn't fit into her narrative. So it was not put into help women, and it wasn't called Planned Parenthood at first.
No.
The person who created it,
Margaret Sanger, and she was photographed in 1926 with the high-ranking members of the KKK that were mostly Democrats.
I could never support anything like someone like that because I can't. I cannot. I don't care what you're selling me. I cannot accept that. But unfortunately, most people don't know the history and they don't bother to.
Here we are, and it's clearly working because we're losing our black population.
It's crazy.
And do our black people know this, that there's been a systematic assault on their race for generations, and it started with the absentee fathers, breaking up the families when they were enslaved, and then offering the benefits to have kids and have them be fatherless. There's benefits for that. There's incentives, no different than the incentives they're offering now to illegals to come to New York. We will give you health care. We will give you jobs. We will give you college. We will give you everything. And we're also starting to see now, it was Texas, Pennsylvania, and California just this last week, with all the illegal citizens that now that they have to clean their rolls off of. This is getting insane. Insane. 1.5 million in California alone. So when people are screaming, oh, Hillary won the popular vote, with what? Illegals? Yeah. It's getting crazy. I'm to the point. I don't think voter ID is racist, and I think it's time that we really need to start supporting a national voter ID.
I will never be in favor of photo ID because I know what it did to my ancestors and people that look like me, and it still goes on in deep down south in South Carolina.
Are you okay with non-citizens voting?
I'm definitely not okay with that.
So what's the solution that meets in the middle with that?
That I'm not sure. I don't have the answer.
Find a solution, though.
Yeah, that would have to be looked at, but I would never support photo ID because blacks are still being suppressed in the South, and they still can't vote. They come up with all kind of crap. But would I want somebody that was undocumented? No, I wouldn't. My aunt lives in this little hick town in North Carolina, and she tells us factual how many people can't vote? They don't have a way to get there. They open the polls at a crazy time. They close it. They want all these requirements. These people are uneducated. They can't get there. They don't know what they're doing. So what is the result?
Ignorance is not an excuse for suppression of voting. It's not.
What?
Ignorance is not an excuse for suppression of voting when we're seeing record numbers of people come out to vote.
I know ignorance isn't, but if you don't have a way to get there, you have to use common sense. If you can't get there, if you put it up on a mountain and I can't get there, what do you want me to do?
But it's usually not. It's usually in a school in your district. It's usually
not here. I'm not talking about here. I'm talking
Georgia. Georgia's an example because Georgia is the one where the woman who's going to be giving the rebuttal to the State of the Union address who lost her bid, she had claimed that there was huge, she was a Black woman, large amounts of voter fraud and suppression, not fraud, I apologize for the word, suppression, large amounts of voter suppression but record amounts of Blacks came out and voted for her. So you can say that
also a lot that didn't get their vote in. So what do we do about that?
It's an immeasurable piece.
You gotta be fair. You gotta be fair. If it was a record number that came out, okay. But what about
how do you measure that number to prove that claim?
You would have to go out and do the research. Somebody would have to do the legwork. How many people? You could tell how many people come in and come out.
You can also
poll watchers.
Well, what you do is you foil the voter rolls in the district, and the voter rolls will give you the voting history, and it'll tell you how often people don't vote and how often they do. Yeah. And what they've seen is that record numbers of people are voting. They're not seeing that people are being suppressed. The same people that are registered to vote aren't voting. And a lot of that has to do with they're just sick of it. They're sick of it. They're sick of the Democrats. They're sick of the Republicans. The Republicans are racist, and the Democrats they want to kill babies, and then Trump. They've tuned it all out. They've tuned it out. They just don't want to participate. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily suppression because they don't want to participate.
I would have to look into. I know what happened in Georgia, and I would have to look into that because I do believe that some was suppressed. But I know for a fact when my aunt lives in a little small town in North Carolina, and I would say she was definitely suppressed along with other family members to getting to their polling place because they just did not have means to get there.
The Georgia issue, she was upset because they purged the rolls, which I think needs to be done from time to time because we have over 3 million registered dead voters just on Suffolk County rolls alone.
That's a problem as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that need to be done, but you can't say cleaning up all the dead people off the voter rolls is suppression.
No, I mean, you can you vote if you dead?
No, you shouldn't be able to.
So that's why, I mean, that I would agree with.
But, I'm not a Democrat. So.
That's Lisa's job.
Lisa, what's wrong with your party?
What?
What's wrong with your party? Democrats are out of control.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's why I won't pray.
I think people forget that Dana is the Republican and Lisa's the Democrat, and I'm the non-affiliated voter.
They do.
After Trump was elected, I am absolutely horrified and embarrassed by calling yourself a Democrat. It's crazy.
I think it's sad for the Democrats that don't understand what's happening to their party and why it's been really, really hijacked by the extreme progressive, fringe, lunatic-y socialist left.
I don't own a pussy hat.
Well, I mean, if you did, I want to conduct that. We have to get one. Where can we get one? I want to do this. This is going to be something that we do as a group. We need, if anybody's, no, we need a pussy hat. I'll do the MAGA hat, but I want to do an experiment of us on the street. And I'll do it. I'll be the victim. I want to put on the hat, and I want both. And we can make it a science experiment and see what the reaction is, because I really believe that it's
totally wrapped around you. So and I'll wear my hat, and I'll be cheered. Yay!
We should put Dina in the pink hat because she's a Black woman, and they love that. It's like.
They would come after me.
Poor Dana. Dana's got people online. They're like, I've always loved you. And Dana's like, I don't even know you. It's so funny to watch it. It's so funny.
Dana, you could wear the vagina suit.
Oh, they got the hair on them. They're so
Filthy,
creative.
vile suit that these sickos wear out there. It is so vulgar.
We can make the whole suit. We'll get Brillo pads for the hair.
You're disgusting.
No, well, no, I'm creative.
I'll
go along with the glue gun and some felt.
I will take down all the information.
We're gonna need some silk for the liner.
I can't.
And then felt for the outside because it's old and worn out. And then Brillo for the. Do you think the firemen are watching tonight? I hope not. Oh God,
they're probably cracking up like, what is wrong with them tonight?
And then we'll get the MAGA hat and we'll film that one in equal time and we'll see how much more hate one gets than the other to give the complete,
That actually would be a good study, though. All jokes aside, that would be a good study.
That's a winner.
How about if I put a giant hat on my MAGA hat?
No, you're not. Nobody is moderate anymore. That's ridiculous. But this will win Liam the science fair this year.
I think it's a great project.
Measurable data. Love it.
I could do that. Anything to help the children.
I'll do anything to help the kids.
No, I'll do that.
We'll give you friendly fire and we'll put me in the MAGA hat and we'll film. Lisa can film it. We'll have Liam take down all the data and then we'll report back to everybody. But we're going to have to do it when it's not cold out.
Heck yeah, because it's cold as hell.
It's cold. Too cold.
I'm freezing. I got my blanket around me and everything.
Too much. So, well, ladies, I actually have a red button tonight. I'm so excited to not be in a state of panic at the end of our show.
And I don't have to fumble. And be like,
oh my goodness.
But it's good.
It's okay.
That was horrible.
So we've reached that time in the evening that we hope everybody enjoyed tonight's Huntington View. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye, guys.